Oh yeah, let's do the rest of the other side of life. Okay. So there's ad libs and bits and pieces towards the end that I could go through painstakingly bit by bit, but realistically, you know, do we really need that? Because it'll take forever. So I'll just give you the shape of it all. So the first thing you're going to have to do is tune the E string down to a D. So you play your open D, and then you tune your E string. All right, tune it down to that. Okay, because he plays an open D, an open E tuned as a D sometimes. The other thing, I don't think the bass comes in here until the chorus. He says, and she comes and goes, the others. Right? There is stuff you could mistake for bass earlier on. Maybe I'm mistaken it for not bass, but there's an awful lot of low strings and things like that, which could be bass, particularly with the open D. But really, when the bass comes in, it's pretty striking. So I think that's when it is. So let's start there. She comes and goes. I'll play that one section, and then I'll show you what he's doing, and we'll move on through the song like that. She comes Okay, so what's he doing? Well, first thing I think he's playing over the neck, and the reason for that is instead of this, it's kind of rattly and more mellow. So that's what I think. It's more here. Now the mic is picking up more. I can just show you actually. If I turn the bass off, all of that is the mic, right? But it's kind of slappy like that, you know. Okay, he's going to start in an open A. But she comes. So on the word comes, it's lovely and clear where it starts. And your next note is the third fret on the D string. And then there's this run up, this kind of lovely kind of rattly run. So she comes, and then open A to the second fret, to the third fret on the A, and then slide up right like that. So open A, third fret on the D, open A, the second fret on the A, third fret on the A, and then slide up to the fifth fret on the A to give you a D note. Okay, from the top. And then open A to the second fret on the A string to give you a B. Right, so. That's where we are so far. You're going to get down a fret, and then there's an octave. Now the timing of the octave is funny, so I could give you the count. I think it's 2 and, but I think the best thing to do is just listen to it and you'll hear it. It's not where I would have put it, but that's because I'm not Mick Karn, and I'm very influenced by all the stuff I learned kind of properly, if you know what I mean, whereas he was just his own man, and at the time of it was fabulous. So do your octave, which is the third fret on the G string. So from the top. Right. So after the octave, which is the third fret on the G, as I said, he goes back to a C, the third fret on the A string, and then slides back up to the fifth fret, which will give him a D. And then you have that lovely, Robert Dean's lovely kind of chopsticksy guitar thing. Amazing, the band called Japan, and actually a lot of their influences were actually Chinese music because of the stuff Karn was listening to. They brought these tapes home from Camden Market, I think, reading the book. Okay, so from the top, but she comes. The others. The next bit's really interesting. Let's do that. It borrows from the bit we did in part one. The first half of it is from part one, and then he does this other little run, which is just gorgeous. Let's go do that. We listen first, and I'll show you what he's at. Cool. Okay, so what is he doing? Well, if you looked at part one, you'll be familiar with this run, but in case you're not. So it's open A, and an open A again, but hammering onto the 5th, and up to the 7th, right? So it's all on the A string. And there's 2 notes on this 7th fret, so open A, hammer on to the 5th, open A again, hammer on to the 5th, and onto the 7th, and 2 notes there. Now that lets you slip your index finger down a string, or up a string, depending which way you're looking down, it's that way, it's actually up a string, isn't it? To the D string on the 5th fret, and slide that up, so up to the 7th fret on the D string. So that's the start of the kind of pre-chorus part and the solo part from the other video. So, and here's where it changes. He's going to go 7th fret on the A string, 5th fret on the A string, open A string, B flat, to the B, 2nd fret on the A string, B flat again, and then the same thing, the octave to the C, and slide up, just like you did earlier, right? So he's reusing little bits of earlier lines and adding bits to them. It's just so good because you're familiar with the part, but it brings you somewhere else. It's very clever, right? So from the top, it's octaves nearly on side. I'm reluctant to say it without checking it, but just have a listen. All right. That's over sheltering only the other side of life. Let's move on to the next little bit because there's some more interesting stuff here. So one more time. The other side of life. So that's the end of the chorus, and there's a couple of little interesting things in it. He does this little run a lot. In lots of songs, that kind of thing, but it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. And the other thing we need to remember is that's a D now. So where we hear a G, we're going to go to a G. We got to play it 2 frets up. So I'll show you. So the other side of life. Right. So what he's doing there is 9th fret on the D string with his little finger or 3rd finger, I'd imagine. Actually, it'd be any finger, couldn't it? I've known him is probably the index, actually. Whatever finger you like. How's that? I'm going to slide from the 9th fret up to the 10th and back. But instead of going here, he's going to play an open A. So this is a common Mick trick to get from the high end of the board to the low end of the board quickly. He'll use an open string oftentimes, and that gives you that time to move smoothly down here. Like a lot of his speed is actually the illusion of speed because he's jumping around like that. So 9th fret, 10th fret, 9th fret. open A, da, 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 da. And it's a G note, but we're going to play the 5th fret on the E string because we're tuned down, da, 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 and up to the 5th fret on the A string, giving you a D. Now, what I find interesting about that, he had the open D, the low D to go to, but he decided not to do that. And I think it's because he's saving that for later on, for an effect. And I remember McCartney talking about it in the Free as a Bird thing, I think it was. Or was it Real Love? It was one of them anyway. And he said he was playing a 5-string wall and he had this low C that he hung on to so that when it came in, it made an impact. And it could be that. So from the top, 9th fret on the D to the 10th to the 9th. Little slide, open A. 5th fret on your bottom string, which is now a D. Da, 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 and up to the D on the top. Okay, and then your next bit, of course, is the bit we did before, the pre-chorus. So let's move. All right, so that's a little different from the first chorus. Typical Mick, it's fab, right? So it's quite the same. Okay, so open A, but the timing of this F note on the D string is different. So it's just it's different from the first time, but the notes are in the same places, right? But not necessarily in the right order. So open A, that's the same. Now this is where it's different. So you're going to slide straight up to the 5th fret, and it pushes that D note over the chord. It's very interesting. Your next note is he's going to slide from the 5th fret of the D string up to the 7th fret of the D string, and then 2 open E strings, which of course are tuned to D, and that's nearly in time with Of Life. That the timing of this stuff is really interesting, and because I'm not really a school player either, I find all that stuff harder to get my head around sometimes. So from the top, but she comes and goes. Here's different. The other sun. Cool, isn't it? So cool. So slide from there. Super. Let's move on. Okay, so that part is a precursor actually to the whole end. This interplay between Steve Jansen's gorgeous drum part, just beautiful, and the strings by Ann O'Dell, which again were written around Mick's part. She complimented them, according to him in the book, on his bass line, that she was able to be inspired by it, work around amazing stuff. So this little thing is in between that last chorus and a repeat of the solo thing that we did in the first video, right? So what he's actually doing, okay, so open A, and then we're going to hammer up to the 3rd fret, the 2nd fret, and then the 3rd fret, if you know what I mean. So open, 2nd fret on the A string, and then hammer on, so you get 2 on the 3rd fret of the A string, right? So if you watch this hand as to when those when the notes are plucked and when they're hammered, right? So there's one that was a hammer, and you're going to slide up to the 5th fret, and then back down to the 2nd, and back up to the 5th, right? So, and then an open E, which of course is tuned down. Okay. that's pretty much it. I'm just going to have another quick listen to everything. After, towards the end, there's a couple little things where I think he slides up, so it's like and I'll show you that if he does it. So yeah, last couple of bits now. So that whole end is the same as that bit we just did. A couple of little things notable. So there's one where he goes, and then, so that's just the 7th fret on the D string and then your open E string. And the other thing that's notable is this little thing is often the thing that brings, he uses to bridge, to bring in that open A. So you go. Except that there's one or two of them where he just goes up. Like if you were to sit a load of people down who knew music from the 80s and you say, I'm going to play a note, I want you to tell me how it is. Oh, yeah, it's Mick Karn. Anyway, look, thank you for getting to the end of this very lengthy video. And that is all my Quiet Life. That's all a Quiet Life done, because the only one left is Despair and there's no bass on it. So I've learned an awful lot sitting down with these things. And doubtless there's going to be people who hear things I didn't. Brilliant, great. Let me know about them. Because what I find is that the more I get into this stuff, the more I break down what he did, the more brilliant I think he was, and the bigger a loss I think he is. You know. So anyway, keep Karn and fret less. You know what they say. Till the next time. Thanks. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, please, because it helps the algorithm and all that. And what I find is that second videos, part 2 videos, get about half the amount of views that the first one does. So people are curious about, oh, how do you do the first one? But they don't actually want to get into the nitty gritty of it. And yet I feel I should, if I get in this far, I should explain the whole thing, right? So if you would, if you're not subscribed, if you would subscribe, because it's only about, it's something ridiculous, small percentage of people are subscribed, like 20% or something, even less, I think. Anyway, that would really help me. Thank you.